Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new style video for a gaming channel. We're going to be doing some coding, and right now we're open to an editor. I am using Eclipse. This is the current one that I'm using. I really am still in Java learning, so I'm still learning definitely some Java, but I'm wanting to just kind of test out some stuff and show you guys kind of some basic properties that I've learned so far, and just kind of going over a simple idea right now to me, and that's going to be, we're going to be taking two areas. So we'll have three different types of shapes. We'll have a triangle, we'll have a rectangle, and we'll have a circle, and then we will compare that to another triangle, circle, or rectangle. I know I said those in random order. That is to throw all of you that have OCD off, just throwing that out there. But so we're going to be basically doing that. We're going to have some calculations, and we're going to have it where it'll compare the two areas, say which one is bigger, which one is smaller, or if they're equal. Alright, so let's go ahead and get in. Alright, so what we first want to do is we want to create a new Java project. So this is a brand new workspace, so we're just going to do this together. So I'm just going to call this, we're going to say project area, like that. And we're going to click finish down here. It'll build it up for us, and let's click on this. We're going to close out the welcome so that way it all goes full screen for us. I will close this kind of folder here. But so if we look over on the left side here, totally bad sense of directions for me, even though that I'm looking at a 2D image. So we'll have project area, which is our Java project folder. We'll have our systems library, which has just a whole bunch of files that you guys aren't going to understand. I don't understand them because it's a whole lot of gibberish, basically. Look down here, we have src. We're going to right click this folder. We're going to hover over new, and we're going to go down to package. Now what I always find is whatever works for me is I always have to do create package info.java. It might be different for you guys. This is just what I find works. So we're just going to type in area, and then we're going to type in collector. Alright, we'll click finish here. Alright, so now we have package area collector. So if we look here, here's our Java area, here's the library, which isn't really resemblance of anything, and then here's just our pretty much our section folder of all of the different packages, and then inside of the package we have our data, or our actual Java sheet, which will run. So right now it's not going to run. That's just how it's going to be working, and we're just going to be okay, that's how it's going to work. So like normal, we're just going to have a standard thing. I'm not going to put in anything. I'm just kind of going to go through the standard stuff. I'm not going to go line by line of what I actually have done, because I did do kind of a test run and it did work. So we're just going to go through everything, and I'm just going to explain the logic as we go. So there is a step before this one, but we're not going to put that in yet. So I'm going to actually start at line 4, and that's just kind of how I standardly do it. So usually package 1, so the package starts up at top for me, and then I like to organize it by whatever I have to import. So if I have to import anything, I always do it on line 2, 3, 4, and that's how I kind of style it. And then right after that, I put an extra return in, and then I say what I'm actually doing. And then after that, I do another return, and then I type in my public class, and we're going to call this, let's just call this area for right now. It starts with capital. Alright, so there we go. Then we have to do a open thingy. We're going to call it our open parenthesis. It's not really a parenthesis. We're going to call it our open bracket. Because apparently I cannot remember it until it's too late. So we're going to go ahead and press enter. So now we know that we will have to have some variables. Now what you guys have to understand now is that we're going to have some variables that will be in the future. So it'll have to be over many methods. Now what is a method? A method is basically whatever style system you have. So if you have your main method, which will be called main, and then you'll have other methods that will have or hold your information in kind of your code. And so basically a method just holds a bunch of code that is all related to each other. And so it's really helpful to have that sort of system. If you guys use block language, it's kind of the same thing as having it underneath like a block. So if you guys use snap or scratch, press the green flag to go, press space to go. It's around the same thing. There are different types of methods, just letting you guys know. So there's graphic methods, there's string methods, they're different ones that use different language, just as a heads up. All right, so we know that we're going to have some standard variables. So we're going to type in static, which will keep all of these variables in. And so we know that we're going to have some string, right? So we're going to have some input. So we're going to type in some name1, and then we'll do comma, and we'll do name2, because we're going to have multiple names. And then we do a semicolon, and we press enter. All right, so this is going to be kind of our opening statement here. Then we're going to do static, if I can spell, static. Okay, and we're going to type double, area1, comma, area2, not area 23. So what is a double? So there's doubles and there's integers. I'm hoping that you guys have learned at least a little bit of Java. If you guys haven't, I'm just going to kind of quickly go over it. So a double is basically a real number. So I can say 3 or 3.0 or 3.1497. Just different numbers are doubles, right? Real numbers, not just a regular 1, 2, 3, 4 without a decimal. That is, a double is just basically, it has a number. It can have any level of decimal point, right? So a decimal would be like 9.0, something like that, or it can even be 9.0. So that's going to be what a double number is. Now, there is such thing as int, aka integer. So an integer would just be 1, 2, or 3, or it's just any whole number basically. Now there is a whole different logic behind integers, and it's basically like, let's say I'm doing 10 divided by 3. Well, then the answer is coming out 3. There is no remainder. So integer math is a lot different. It's just whatever you have. So it's a little bit different, but right now, because we're just going to be doing our different inputs, so somebody can push in 9.76 or just a random number, and we want it to be accurate math that we're going to be dividing in the future, we're going to have it be a double. Now we're going to do static, and we're going to call this one, this will also be a double, because this will actually be our one of our things that goes in, and we're going to type in rate. All right, so if you guys do remember me saying up here at the string was going to be our input, right? So we're going to input, so if we press 1 basically, so what we're going to be doing is, if I press 1, it's going to be rectangle, 2 is going to be triangle, and 3 it's going to be circle. So basically what we have to have is we have to have some sort of input. So what we're going to do up here, like I had talked about, we're going to do import. Luckily I can spell it this time. We're going to type in Java, and I like to think of this as you're typing until, but it's just without the T, or it's without the N rather. So it's like that, and then you dot, asterisk, backslash. All right, and then we will do our semicolon like that, if I can remember the actual logic. Then in here I would do another enter, so 3 would then be the next import if I had any. If I didn't, then I would leave that one blank. Then I would do start at 4. I would do, if you do / and then asterisk, then it'll come up with a sort of type your own thing. So you can type in this is my first project. Okay, so we have all of that stuff down. Now what we're going to go into is we're going to have to start a new scanner. Now the scanner is what actually brings in the input from the system. So when I type something and I want that, that's how I'm going to get it. So I'm going to go right here, enter, enter, because I like to have some extra spaces so that way I know what I'm working with. And so we're going to just do static. So static just basically carries it all the way through the program. And we're going to type in, it has to be a capital, so scanner, not scammer, scanner. It's been a long day, you guys. All right, so it's going to be scanner and then input, and then equals new scanner, scanner, parenthesis, system, pardon my typing skills, and then we will do that. Bam. All right, so there we go. Okay, I typed insert. All right, so what this is now done is you can put this input as anything. You can put it in as console. I always recommend input or some sort of like language that means putting into the system. And so that's just going to be your calling card, basically, whenever you have to. So you're going to say like length equals input dot whatever you're putting in. And so that's just going to be how helpful that is. So now we're going to type in our main method. Now there is an actual domain called public static void main. I think it's string and then AGRS, or maybe it's just public static void main. And that is actually a Java website where it's like a bunch of teachers that have hopped on and will actually help you, which is really cool. But for right now, we're just typing in public static void, not void. There we go, void main. And then we're gonna, so then how you do this is we're gonna do open parenthesis, and we're gonna type in capital S, string, bracket, and we're gonna move on, space, ARGS, or AGRS. Yes, that's correct. Oh, it's been a long day, you guys. I'm so sorry. All right. So now we have our main method. So our main method is basically what's running the program. Now you don't want too much in your main method, because if you have too much, then it's going to use too much of your RAM or too much of your processor. So you don't want to put too much in your main method. What you want to truly put in your main method is you want to just put your standard stuff, your calling to other methods, your just basic things that won't use too much of your RAM. You want to do it as a system, because how Java works is it goes line by line. So if I have a line up here that won't let it run, say it comes up with an error, it's not going to run anything else. So what we have to do is we have to go line by line. So we're going to create a couple other methods here. So our first one that we're going to do is we're going to type in shape1, and this will be in parentheses. Now why is the one going to be in parentheses? Well, the one is going to be in parentheses mainly because shape1 and shape2 are going to be from the same method, right? They're going to be inputted into the exact same method, and they're going to come out as the same answer. So basically what we're doing is we're going to be calling a method called shape once, and then we'll be calling it for a second time, so that way we can actually get what our shape is, right? Is it a rectangle? What is the dimensions of it? Is it a circle? What are the dimensions of that? So that's what we're going to be basically finding. Then we're going to want another method, and we're going to want to call it print, and then we're going to do a capital for result, and then we'll do parentheses and like that. So basically this is just going to be, okay, what is our result? So all our main method is doing is it's just going to be calling out these other methods, or these other like caps of code. And so it'll save on a lot of space because it's just going to run off those, and it's not going to be focusing on this. So all this is doing is just focusing on what we actually have. All right. So now what we want to move on to is, so this bracket, as you can see, it does cover up this one over here. So that means that this one is now closed. I can still press enter and I can do more stuff in that, but I don't need to. I've completed all that needs to be completed. So we're gonna, nope, not there. We're gonna press enter here, and we now have a new subcategory of what we can put. So if we click here, you can see that it closes off there. You don't want this one to be closed off. Once this is closed off, the program is finished. It's done. You'll never see it again. It's gonna go fly out the window, do whatever it does, because we don't truly know. Okay. So now we want to create our shape one. So we're gonna type in our public static void. And why is it a void? Now the void is just saying that it's not going to come back with anything, right? We don't want it to come back with anything because there's no purpose of it coming back with anything, because this is just taking a bunch of input and then it'll just kind of feed it through the system. So we're going to type in integer, and we're going to call this shape number, shape, and we'll just do num. I usually like to do, if I have to do a variable like shape number or interval or something like that, I always set the first three numbers. So I'll do like num, or if I'm doing triangle or rectangle or circle, triangle will be tri, rectangle will be rec, so on and so forth. And that just kind of helps keep it all like in my head, if that makes sense. All right, do another bracket there, and there we go. So now we have our system in there. So now we have this system. So what are we doing in this system? So the main point of this system is we're just going to be collecting our data, right? So we don't need anything else except for to collect data. So what we want is we want a print line, right? So that way the person can actually get what directions they're getting, right? So we're going to type in system.out.print. And so if I left it at just print, it's going to print, and if anything else comes up, like if I'm keep on saying print, it's going to print on the exact same line. So what we want to do is we want to press ln for line, and then that'll just print it once, and then it'll move straight to the next line. So when you type it in, or once another line comes up, it'll be on a brand new line. You can also do slash or \n, and it'll get the same exact thing, but it's just a little bit different. Okay, so now what we want to do in here is, since we're actually going to be typing out code and this is a string, we're going to do quotes. So you have to do double quotes. That's going to be how you're going to get all of your information out. So we're going to put it in quotes, right? And then anything we type in between these two quotes is going to come up as like this blue text. And that's just basically meaning, okay, hey, it's a string. And it's going to be taking out all of that different input, or not taking out all that input. That's just saying that that's what it's going to feed out into the console. All right, so what we want to do now is we want to type in, we're going to be nice, right? We're not going to be, hey, just put it in, right? We want to say please, you know, as you guys do. And we're going to say, select one of these shapes. If I can type. And you don't want to, whenever you guys type out a code like this, you don't want it to be too complex, right? You just want it to be simple language. You want somebody that if they know enough English to understand this, or enough of that language that you are coding in, you want them to understand that, right? You don't want them to go, okay, I don't really remember what this word means, so we're just going to stick with some basic language here. So please select one of the following, one of these shapes. I'm gonna no, one of these shapes. Yeah, one of these shapes. And so why I'm saying one of these shapes is because we have them actually in the line here. So we're gonna do one, and then we're just gonna do parentheses to break that up, and we'll type in rectangle. And because I'm gonna be the only one that's using it, it's not gonna be like, oh, if I also type in rectangle, will you put it in? We're not going to mess with that right now. We can do that, and I'll probably do that in a later episode where we'll revisit some codes and we can actually do some of that. But for right now, I want to just kind of mess around with this. So we're going to do 2, and this will be triangle. And then we'll do 3, and this will be circle. And then we'll just end it there. Now you could do a period there, but we don't need to. Now, in order to finish this line, like you can see on all these other ones, we do have to do a semicolon, and then we'll press enter just to get us started on our new line. Now up here at the top left, we're just going to click save, so that way it saves it all, and you can actually see that this is all wrong. Hold on, did I put this? Oh, there is no slash. Oopsies. Uh-oh. I hate that. I keep on pressing that. All right, star. No, star. All right. Does that work now? Should work. Yeah. All right. So then we can actually hover over this. You can actually see. So now that we have this all saved, it'll show up with some errors. So we've got method print result is an undefined, so we don't have anything. So we can ignore this one for right now because we don't have anything, right? So then we just now have this. So we'll hover over this and we'll say rename file to area, and you can see this now renamed it to file. And if we look here, it'll say X. That just basically means, hey, it's not going to work, right? So we're going to we won't worry about that, but if we click play, I always click just that, so that way it just runs. And now we have our console tab, which will say, hey, this doesn't work. Okay, that's fine. We don't need to worry about that for right now. All right, so we can actually, I will copy this, and then let me just make sure. Yep. All right, and then we'll backspace this just for right now. And then we'll click play, and then just say okay, and it'll say please select one of the following, please select one of the following, because we have it saying, hey, call this method once, call this method twice. So it has once and then it has that second time. Okay, so now we'll just go ahead and we'll put this back in. Even though that we don't have that method, it's fine. So now what we want is we want either 1, 2, or 3. Now we don't need a double because we're not using necessarily true numbers. We're just using integers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, random numbers out there. Goes on for a very long time. All right, so we're going to type in integer, and we're going to type in, let's call this selection number. And we'll do num. So you can do capital letters after you type your word. I recommend every time that you start a new word, you do it as a capital letter, and they all do have to be obviously one line or one word, however you guys want to say that. But your first letter for a variable always has to be lowercase. That's just out there for you. You can do up here where I have the numbers, I can put that as a 1 or a 2 or whatever, but the first initial thing has to be lowercase. Okay, so we're going to have a selection number, and we're going to type in is equal to, right, because we need it to be equal to whatever the person inputs. And because I did type this way up here, right here, not way up there, but right here, we typed that as input. So we're going to type in input, right? And then we're going to do a nice good old-fashioned dot, and we're going to do next, and then we're going to type in capital I-N-T. And so basically this will just take the next integer, but we do have to do parentheses, so leave that open. And then now it'll basically take, so whatever I select here, it'll just store it in its memory basically, right? So think of it as it has a hard drive and it's now just storing that in its hard drive, right? Okay, so now what next do we have to do? Well, now we have to actually say, okay, so what happens if it is a triangle, or what happens if it is a rectangle? So now we're going to have to go through a series of if statements. Now if statements are just like, okay, if it's this, then obviously do this, right? If it's not, then just ignore me. Now you can do if else. So an if else is basically, okay, if you are me, then do me. If you're not me, then do this. I know that sounded kind of wrong, and you can get your mind out of the gutter, okay? All right, so now what are we wanting to do? Like I said, we're going to be wanting to do these if statements. So we're going to go and we're just going to type in if. Now this comes up as that like purple magenta writing. So purple magenta just basically, I like to think of it as it's the new head, right? So that's just going to be how that is. Blue up here is basically for under static. So if you don't have them, they're basically variables for the entire system. Now if they're this like amber color, they're going to be variables inside that method, right? So it's kind of a pain when you have to bring the same variable throughout multiple methods. So that's why I always recommend, if you have to have a variable throughout multiple methods, you just come up here and you just type in static and you put in whatever. If it's going to be a string, you put in the number, or you put in string with a capital S, because strings are always capital, because they like to be like that. They like to mess with you. So, you know, you might be, oh, I'm just going to type all lowercase. Nope, you can't. It likes to just be mean to you. And then if you have to do numbers, right, type in double, type in integer, depending on what you're doing. And that's going to be how that helps you. All right, now because this is an if statement, we have to have a parenthesis, thinking of it as it's holding the information, right? Okay, well, what is actually going to get selected if it is? So we're going to type in selection number, right? So this basically is just going to be, okay, is it selection number? We're going to say, okay, are you number 1, right? Have you been selected, right? Because this is, are you choosing this one, right? It's not, are you choice number 1? Are you choice number 1 up here? No, we're not asking that. Right now we're just asking, hey, are you this right here? Are you the rectangle? Well, yes it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to just go ahead and put a open bracket, press enter, so that way it opens up that bracket. And then we're going to type in, all right, well, what goes into a rectangle? Well, we know we have to have length times width, right? So those are the two factors that go into making a rectangle. So we're going to go, okay, why don't you type in the width, right? So we're going to do system dot out dot print and then ln for line, as I like to think of it. And then we're going to do another quotes, because that's what we're going to need. And I'm just going to put that out there first, the semicolon, and then we're going to type in, okay, can you please type in the width. Alright, so now we've got the width. Ooh, the width. Alright, so we'll put a period at the end of that. I'm just saying, hey, please put that in, and it's a sentence, right? So that's going to be how that is. Gonna go ahead and save. Make sure to save your projects often, because if you guys are working on a laptop, stuff happens. If you guys are working on a desktop, stuff happens. Just make sure to save it. I normally have it set to save, auto save, like every 5 minutes. I do save thousands of times between those intervals, just in case, hey, if you mess something up. Now make sure that you don't save as you're coding something, but after or before you coded something new, because let's say if you code something brand new and you totally messed that up, then you can always go back, right? You can always just reload your save. Alright, so we have our, please type in the width. And now we're going to have to make a new variable width, obviously. So this, we're going to have this be double, and we'll type in width, and we're going to set this equal to input, and it'll be dot next, and there'll be double, and parenthesis, and nope, not that. And you can actually see I do have smart coding on, which is a little bit of a cheat sheet. So that's that extra window that comes up, and it's like, hey, do you want to input this? And it's like, yes, I do, but because I'm showing the people, I can't do that. It's kind of cheating. So now we have our width, right? So now when it'll say, hey, can you please put in the width? It'll put in the width, right? Now we're going to do the same thing. And now you could just do a simple control copy, right? Right here. And you could just basically say, all right, let's just change this to length. And we'll change this to length, right? And that'll save you some time. So if you ever have to do something like this, just, it's simple enough to just leave it how it is, right? Just copy it and paste it in. That's what I always find is the best system. If you have to do multiple things, it saves on time, and it'll save on obviously work that you have to do. A lot of typing, you know, coding does take a lot of time, so you do have to actually be quite fast sometimes, especially if you guys are taking a computer science class. Especially if you guys are taking a computer science class, those can always be difficult on time crunch. If you guys have an hour or even 2 hours, if you guys are doing an assignment or a project, I understand your pain. I've been there. I'm in one of those classes, so you guys don't have to worry about that. All right, so now what do we need? Well, now we're going to need more if statements, because, well, we do have two very different things, right? We have shape 1, which calls this once, and we've got shape 2 that calls this once. Well, what are we supposed to do? Well, we have to have if statements, right? So that way we can say, okay, so we're going to set this to be area 1 and rectangle 1, right? Yeah, yay, okay. So what are we doing now? So now what we're going to be doing is we're going to type in if, and we're going to do, of course, the open parenthesis, and it automatically closes it because thank you Java, right? Can we get a little thank you? No? Okay, fine. So we're going to type in shape, and then we're going to type in num, as I like to do. We're going to do equals 1, because if shape number is equal to 1, then this is what it's going to be called. Now, I like to kind of keep certain stuff all on one line, but this time I'm not going to do that. So we're just going to have this kind of spread out a little bit. So we'll just do this. Okay. Yep, like this. All right. Just so that way, oh, I meant for that to tab. All right, so we're just going to, okay. So this just gives us some extra space just to work in. So what do we want first? Well, first what we're going to want is we're going to want to set name 1, obviously, right? So we want to set this name. We want to set that to be rectangle, right? So that way we can, when we call it down later in our result, we're going to want to say, hey, yeah, your first one was a rectangle, right? You don't want to say, yeah, we don't know what your first shape was, but here's the area. It's kind of an awkward situation, especially when you have to do that with your boss. Like, yeah, I forgot the customer's name, but this was the volume of their drink. Does that help? No, it doesn't. Thank you, Starbucks employees. All right, so we're going to type in name 1 because that's the name that we have to first use, and we're going to set this equal to string and then rectangle. All right, that's not too terribly difficult. And we have to do semicolon at the end, so that way it actually does that. And then we're going to have to set area 1, right? Because we have that area 1, which is up here. So you can see that gets highlighted in yellow, and because we're using it. Type in equals, and we're going to type in a parenthesis because we're actually doing something inside of that. Actually, before we do that, we're going to create a new variable. Now this new variable is going to be rect, and we're going to do angle. Or not angle, area. Rect. Whenever you say rectangle, it sounds weird. Just not gonna lie, I've had to say that many times this video, and it's gonna not let me live it down. So we're gonna type in width, if I can actually spell, and we're gonna type in length. And this is all that we have to do for this one, right? We don't have to do anything else because we already have this variable. But this isn't a variable. You see it says create new method. So we're going to have to create a method that does the rectangle area. Now this is just to save on some space. Now yes, I totally should cut down on this major part, but we're not going to just because it's going to be a little bit longer. Alright, so now what we need to do is we can close this, right? We don't have any more use for this. Alright, so there's this. Now I can just go ahead and copy this. Now why can I go ahead and copy this? Well, like I said, this is only shape number 1, right? So we need it for shape number 2, because what happens if I put in 2 different areas? Or not 2 different areas, 2 different rectangles, right? We're going to need this to be all changed to 2. So if shape number is equal to, not W, 2, it's 2 very different things. If name 2 is equal to rectangle, and if area 2 is equal to rectangle, area. Oh, I'm so sorry, you guys. I shouldn't be making a video ever again. All right, so there we go. That's everything that we're going to need right here for a rectangle. Everything is complete there. Now we could do some safe space or not some space savers if because you can make these brackets on the same line of these. You can totally do that if you truly want. I think you can even put these on the same line. But we don't truly need that, right? It's just going to be more complicated than it needs to be. And I personally like it when it's more spaced out because it'll actually kind of help you solve the problem. So here it shows where the actual error is, and we can actually find that pretty easily, right? You don't have to go, okay, it's in this line, and it's way over here, right? Following where my mouse is because I'm crazy. Crazy like a cat. That's why they call me Whiskers. Wait, no, that would be if I was curious. Okay. But so this is all done. Now if we see, we do have triangle and circle, so we can just copy this whole thing here, right? And we're going to change this, okay? So this closes out that, so we will do a extra space, and right here we're going to press Control V. So obviously we don't need this here, all right? So now we just get to change all of this code here, right? Yeah, right here. So this code here is what's going to be getting changed. So now if selection is equal to number 2, because now we're dealing with the triangle, we are no longer working with anything else. Now what goes into a triangle? Base times height times 1/2, right? That's how you get a triangle, because it's half of the rectangle or the square that you are doing. So I'll type in equals 2 because we look up here and triangle is equal to 2. So that's going to be standard, so it'll take that input, and now once if this equals 2, then it'll come down here. Now please type, now we need base times height. So this first one is going to be base, and then this one is going to be height. All right, and then we can change these simple variables here. We're going to type in height, not with 2 T's, because that we know how to spell. I hope. I don't, so hopefully you guys can help me, and you guys will just bash me in the comments, and I'll cry probably, like I've done before. It's okay. All right, we'll type in base there, and we'll go down here, and obviously it's not going to be a rectangle anymore, right? So if shape number, right? So selection number and shape number, if you guys remember, are 2 different things. So shape number is different from selection number is different from shape number. So selection number is whatever this number is. If it's 3, if it's 2, if it's 1. Selection or shape number is whatever this is. So if it's going through once, if it's going through twice. Right? So because shape, this is equal to 1 and this is equal to 2, it's going to look for, so if I'm calling it once, it's looking for this one. or it's looking for this one, or it'll look for the circle one, so on and so forth. And if it's 2, it'll look for the 2. Alright, so we don't need this to be rectangle, we need this to be triangle. And we'll call this tri area, T-R-I. Not like the tri-state area, those are 2 very different things. I've been down that road before. Not too fun. Yeah, you get made fun of. And we can just type in tri because they both have angle in them, obviously. Alright, so we'll go ahead and save because we just did a major thing, right? We don't want to redo that all, just in case something happens. Let's say the power comes out, a tornado comes through, or a tsunami just rises out of the ground. Very different traumatic things, I'm sure. Alright, so now we need a third one. So we'll copy this and we'll go to Control V. Now you guys might be like, okay, so this is going to be a circle. Alright, we'll just do that. Well, we don't want to make an ellipse, right? We want to make a circle. We do not need to make an ellipse because an ellipse is like an oval shape. It's going to be a lot more extreme and it'll be harder to calculate. So we just want a standard simple circle, nothing else. Alright, so we're going to do, right, so a standard circle, we're only going to need one input. So we can just go ahead and say goodbye, go away. Please don't come back another day. Okay, so we're going to come down here and we're going to type in, we don't need it to say base, we don't need it to say height, we don't need to say length or width, we need it to say radius, right? Because circles deal with radius. Okay, alright, so then instead of base, we'll type in radius. Right there. So now radius lines up with that, and then we don't even need 2 inputs in here. We just need this to be radius. And then radius. And we obviously don't need this to be triangle, we need this to be circle. And this to be circle. And then this method is completely done, right? Because all this method is to do is it's basically just saying, hey, can you just figure out all the inputs for us? We don't need anything else, right? We just need the inputs. Oh, update available. No, go away. So we have kind of our standard things. This will actually, we need to rename this to be sir. And sir with a C, not an S. Because I don't care about any of you sirs out there. I'm just kidding. Don't beat me up, please. Alright, and we can go ahead and... I'm missing extra things. Alright, so we'll just do this. Okay, so you line up with you. So we will tab. Okay, so you can just press tab and it'll go to where it is, where it's supposed to. And we'll just go ahead and do that. That's not enough, and we'll go ahead and do that. And wait, if I do another one, I'll say that that one's wrong. Hello? Okay, so that's plenty, apparently. No? Okay. So you line up with you. You line up with you. So this is a common occurrence if you copy and paste, so just keep your mind out with that. Alright, so uh-oh, didn't want that. Alright, so we'll just go ahead and, oh, we didn't want that. Alright, so you go there, you go there, you go there, and then you go right there, you go there, you go there. Alright, so this is all done like that. We're totally fine. Alright, so now after this one, we're going to press enter a couple times. This totally should... Oh, hold on. One of these needs to be up here. If it's triangle, and right there, right? Because of logic and reason. Okay, all of you get closed out, right? You get closed out, you get closed out. Okay, so where do you go to? Shouldn't need that one. And no, yours. I need another one here. That's what it is. So just keep in mind out, this is what can totally happen when you guys do stuff like this. Alright, so if you're like that, you'll just be a tab in, and then you go all the way up there, so you, my good sir, can actually go way up here if you are a rectangle, and you can just go backspace. And now I like to keep my stuff predominantly organized, so now we can press save and you should be all correct. Alright. Alright. Where do you go? Alright, you and that. Perfect. We are all in good shape. Okay, so now we'll just put a couple of extra spaces in here. Now we can go ahead and close up certain methods. So you can see this minus or this minus here. Press the minus and it'll kind of hide the code. So that way it saves your space, right? You don't have to be scrolling up and down this huge large code. Alright, so now we need to kind of come down here. So I can show you a quick just time saving tip. So if you hover over this, it'll say, oh hey, there's an error. Now if we click create method, right? Okay, can you create this method here? And it'll say, yeah, but it's going to be private. Well, we don't need you to be private and we don't need you to go. Alright, so basically now what we need is we need this to be public static, right? We don't need it to be void or anything because this is going to be going into a different code, right? So we're going to be taking the area and we're going to be converting it to a new area. So we saved the numbers and now we're using the area to find the actual area. So it's kind of a funny thing, but also it's not at the same time because you guys don't have any humor. Alright, so we're going to type in public. And this is all correct. We're going to have that double width and double length because we're dealing with a rectangle. And it'll say return 0. Now, why return 0? That just basically means return nothing, right? You can't have nothing, obvious, or you can't have like a space or an empty gap or parentheses. That's not going to work. If you have parentheses, that's going to be calling another method called return, which you can't do, so it'll just come back as an error. So now what we need to do is we need to do two different if statements. If it is number 1 or number 2. And no, we're not talking about that. So now we have to do if, or we are talking about that. I was meaning get your mind out of the gutter basically. Alright, so if name is equal, so equal just means, hey, is it logically good? So logic, or not logic, but mathematically good basically. It's kind of following that flow. So if this is equal to rectangle, alright, if name 1 is equal to rectangle, which it should be hopefully in order to get in this, then we'll open up a parenthesis right like this and we'll type in, okay, so use area 1 that we found, and then you'll do set this is equal to width times length, like this. And so you can see this carried over these variables from up here. And we'll do a semicolon. And we'll do enter. And we'll say, okay, now you can return with area 1. Simple as that. Right? It's, if you have it and you've solved it, then return as area 1. Now we're going to do the exact same thing for area 2. So if name 1, or not name 1, name 2 is double equal because it's the logic, and then we'll type in rectangle. Then can you please then do area 2, because we're dealing with the second area, is equal to width times the length. And this multiplication symbol, if you guys did not know, or just kind of new to the keyboard or whatever, that's the asterisk symbol. That's just mathematic multiplication on the keyboard. Alright, and then we're going to say, alright, so we need you to return, not rerun, return area 2, and then semicolon. Alright, so now we have a whole return system, right? So if it's a rectangle, it'll come down here, it'll solve it, and then it'll save it as that area. And that's all that we need it to do. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do the same exact thing for the other ones, right? Oh, up here we forgot to edit these. Oopsies. So this would be base, this would be height, and then let me change this to base and height. So sometimes what I'm trying to show you guys here is sometimes time saving does require more time, if that makes sense. You do have to be cautious of what you are doing. It's Obviously a lot more if you guys are needing to work on a time crunch. Obviously copy and paste is going to help you. But as you guys did see, it did totally screw me where I had to go back and I had to put in all the closed brackets and I had to figure out where they all went. And then I just discovered, hey, look, I lost, or I didn't swap my base and my height. So those are obviously very important. Now we're going to come back up here just as a time saver. Now I did just say a bash time saving, but this is one of the more helpful ones. It does require you obviously to retype this as other, but we're going to put this right there. Oh, oops. We're going to move you right after this. There we go. All right. So I like to do it kind of in logical order. So I had rectangle first, then now I'll have triangle, and then we'll have circle. We'll change this to public so that way everything can use it. Double, try area, base, height, we're good. Now the logic is going to be the exact same here. So if name1 is double equal to quote triangle, then you're good, right? And we'll say, okay, now actually input that, right? Or not name1. If name1 is equal to triangle, then we're going to do the same thing. If area1 is equal to base times height, then we're good, right? Wrong. Because if you guys remember a simple, how do you guys make a triangle? Well, it's base times height times 0.5. There we go. Or you can just do a simple thing, because times 0.5 can sometimes confuse it. Divide by 2. Just a standard thing. And I usually like to do my divisions or my adding things. I like to do them a space apart. Keeps it simple, keeps them spaced out. You can see where the error clearly is. All right, so now we'll go do the exact same thing, except for this will be closed. All right, so this will be if you are name2 is double equal to quote rectangle, or not rectangle, triangle, then you will be area2 is equal to base. Okay, now my keyboard's just not working. It's totally not me, you guys. Totally not me. And then height divided by 2. And we'll just go ahead and close that. Now, if you guys do remember, we do need to type in our return statement, right? We need to return area1. And then we need to, at the end of this, oh, misspelled height. We need to return area2. So just letting you guys know, 99% of the time, and I'm going to just say this, 99% of the time it is a misspelled word that you have inputted that will cause the error. So if I type in area instead of area2, or oh no, I misspelled and I put in 2 A's, well, that's not going to work. There's your error. And most of the time when you're going through your program, you're not going to realize what you've done. So that's just my tip, because I know I've done that so many times, but it's just how it goes sometimes, and unfortunately it screws you more than I'd like to say. Alright, so as you can see, a lot of our errors here have gone away. You can see the triangle area is all good. I'm just gonna set this to be equal. All of our areas here are totally good. Sorry, I'm just figuring that out. We'll clean up our code later. So our circle area, we can click here. Oh, that's not what we wanted. Oh, yeah, it is. Never mind. Totally don't know what I'm saying. So we'll rename this to public. And then this is all correct. We'll just go ahead and we're going to move you right down here, right after you. All right, so now we're all set up here. We don't really need this anymore because we haven't come back with whatever our issue is there. But you can see now the error is gone. It shows that there are no errors except for this, hey, it's not actually sending anything back. That's the only error that it's saying. This one, the only error, hey, we don't have a print result method, which we'll come back to in a second. All right, so now we need a if statement. So if the circle name, so if name1 is equal to, double equal to circle, then you're going to actually do this program, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this. Actually, no, we're not going to copy this. So first, what do we have to do? So in order to get the area of this, it's 2 pi r, right? That's what the symbol is. Now there is a whole math thing that you can do so that way you can actually get pi. It's a little bit more complicated, but for right now what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and we're going to get an actual pi here. Or not an actual pi, but we're going to make a variable named pi. So we're just going to type in double, and we'll just do pi for pi, set u equal to, let's just go 3.14159. Okay, simple. Like that, clears it, variable, it's being used. So now we have to type in area1, how we have it, and then we'll set u equal to, okay, so now we have to do 2 pi r. So radius times radius, or pi r squared, that's what it is, not 2 pi r. 2 pi r is circumference. I was wrong. I'm so sorry, you guys. Don't make fun of me in the comments because mathematically I am not there anymore. I haven't taken math class in forever. So now we'll just do, as we've been doing, we're going to do radius times radius, and then we're going to do times pi, and we'll do our bracket there, and then return area 1. So there is our first area, and we'll do the same thing down here, which we can just kind of quickly copy, so that way that time saver as I was talking about. If name 2 and if area 2, return area 2. Bam. Save view. And now we're all good, right? We're all done. Nope. No, we're not. So now what we have to do is now we have to come up with our print result tab, or not tab, method. Now this doesn't have to return anything necessarily. We're just saying, hey, can you actually call this method? So this isn't actually asking for anything. So we're going to type in down here public static void, because it doesn't have to send anything back. We're going to call this print capital R result. Okay, standard simple stuff. And then we need a open bracket like that, and now we have our print result. So you can see that error up there totally went away, and when I saved it, all of those little X's that said, hey, it's not going to work, they now show that it will work. So now what do we need here? Now we have to come up with 3 different logical paths. If area 1 is equal to area 2, if area 1 is greater than area 2, and if area 1 is less than area 2, right? So we'll just we'll keep area 1 as the primary, the first focus there, so that way we don't have to change anything. So that way it's nice and simple. So this will be a consistency of 3 if statements. So first if statement that we're going to need is obviously, like we've been talking about, parentheses. So if area 1 is equal, and if this is equal to area 2. Standard stuff. All right. So another open bracket. Where did you just go? There we go. All right. So now we have this. Now we're going to have it print out some standard stuff. Okay. Now to save on lines, because we don't want our code to be too long, even though that's 121 lines, but we're not going to talk about that. And we're going to keep it simple, right? We don't need it to be too complex. We can go ahead and close off some of these other methods here. We don't need it to be too long. So all we need is we need it to say, okay, system dot out dot print line, because we only need to print out 1 line, and apparently we can't spell still. We blame you, Kevin. All right, so system.out.println, open parenthesis, bracket, or not bracket, parenthesis, semicolon. And now we're going to do a simple thing. So we're going to say, all right, so what do we need to say? Well, we need to say, okay, so the first area, oh, did I set either of these to be right? Oh, I totally forgot to do something, and that is my bad. All right, so what we do need to do first is we need to set our rate. If you guys remember up here, where is it? Here. No, that's not what we wanted. Where was all of my stuff that I did static for? I didn't delete them, right? Did I delete them? Oh no, where's my... This is weird. Did I delete them at one point? Sorry, you guys. If I totally did. Huh. I don't know where everything went. See, that goes 716. Where are my other lines? I'm gonna get rid of that. Alright, hold on, you guys. I've actually never had this happen where it comes up with that, but it'll be fine for right now because I don't think I quite frankly need that. So we're just gonna go ahead and do some simple stuff because apparently we don't need that. So we need to set the rate, obviously. That's kind of an important thing. Oh no, we don't need to do the rate up here. We need to do the rate in a second. Alright, so we'll do first area. Sorry you guys, I totally took you out on that tangent. Do this. So we type in first area and we're going to do a space because we don't want it to be right smacked up against the semicolon. And then now how do we combine a string with a number or a variable outside? Well, we'll just do a simple plus, right? So now we have our simple plus out here, and then we'll type in area 1 and we'll do plus, and we're going to do \n, and this will create a new line. But first this has to be in quotes, \n, and then we're going to do, okay, so second area, and then colon. Now this just keeps everything nice and equal and flat. We don't have to do anything else. Alright, so now we have our second area. We're going to do the same thing, and we'll come out here plus, and we're going to type in area 2. Okay, and that's all that we have to do. That's the same thing, and we're going to do the exact same line here. So we're going to type in system.out.println parenthesis semicolon. I always think that that's the easiest just to go ahead and do, because if you do it at the end, sometimes I find that I forget it. And then we're going to say, okay, both shapes have the same area. That's all we have to do, and then we'll type a period, and we're going to make sure check our spelling. Okay, simple as that. That's all that we have to do for this one. Okay, so now we have to type in, okay, what happens if it is greater than or less than. So if area 1 is, let's do greater than first. If area 1 is greater than area 2, then I need you to do this. So we're going to do the rate, as I had said. So first we have to actually display whatever this is. So we're going to just copy this line, because this line is going to stay the exact same, because we want it to actually display here. And we're going to go down here and we're going to say, okay, do the rate. So rate is going to be set equal to, and we're going to set this equal to area 1 divided by area 2, aka the larger number divided by the smaller number. Bracket like that, or semicolon like that. Rate, I still have no idea why it's hiding that. I think that's a little weird. I don't have that ever, so I'll have to take a look onto this. I normally do my coding on a laptop, or I do this in a different folder, and that folder has never done this to me, so I must have clicked a button. So I'll look into that. But so now all that we need is, now we have the rate, and then we're going to print out basically the same line. So I'm just going to copy this, or we're going to paste this, but now instead of saying that, we're going to say, okay, so the first shape can actually spell. The first shape, my T key is kind of sticking now. Don't know quite why it's always done that. I think it's kind of my fingers. The first shape is larger by a rate of, and do space, and we're going to close that off. Do another space out here, plus, and then we're going to say rate, and space, plus, not place, and we're going to do quotes, another space because we need that space in between, and then to the second shape, and we're done. That's all that we have to do for the area greater than. Now we're going to copy this thing, and it'll be quite nice because all we have to do is we just have to change everything around, right? So we'll change this to be less than, so it'll still display this. We're going to change this to be area 2 because area 2 is the larger one, right? And we're going to say, oh, first shape. See, you guys were probably yelling at me in the comments. Alright, so the second shape is larger by a rate of, plus the rate, which will be as a number, to the first shape. Alright, there we go. So we're going to save this, and you guys can actually see how long our code is. It does appear to be quite long. Now, there should be an extra couple of lines in here, which I don't know why they're not showing, but they aren't. And then we can do / if we wanted to put comments in. You can do that. You don't really have to. But so basically all that we're going to do is now we have this, save it again, and we're going to click run area. So it'll say, hey, please select one of these. So why don't we just go ahead and press 1 here. You can see it'll glow green. That just means that it's input. All right, so what do we want the width to be? We'll do a simple 5, right? Please type the length. All right, well, let's do another simple 5. Okay. That's simple enough. Now let's do a triangle, right? Because we're going to test if the shapes are the or not the shapes, but if they actually work. So triangle. Please type the base. So let's say the base is, let's do 10, and we'll do the height as 5. Oh, please type the radius. Oops. So you guys can see, hey, something went wrong here if it says please type the radius. So you close U off. Why do you ask the radius? Let's just type in 6. See. Okay. So this is our first, or not our first, but one of our major things that we have to figure out here. So we will go ahead and look in here. So it should be in the shape here. So we're going to look through, so it came across as our triangle, right? So here's this. That closes there. That closes there. That closes there. You close there, so why do you ask? Please type in the radius. Oh, here, this has to be 3. That's what we forgot. All right, so we're going to have to plug in. So that happens more often than coders like to say. So you're going to say, let's do 3, we'll do 5, we'll do 6, sure, and we'll do a triangle, and we'll do 12, and we'll do 5. So we'll say first area is, oh, why didn't you work? It doesn't truly matter. Oh, I did /. This should be \. That's what it was. And we'll save this. Play again, and we can just say, oh, that's not what we want. We want our 1. We'll type in, all right, we'll type in 124, 35, and then please select a circle, and we'll type in 50. All right, what is larger? All right, first area is 4,000. Second area is 7,800. The second shape is larger by a rate of, and then here's the rate to the first shape. So standard stuff. We can do other stuff. So if I did click play up here, click always save resources before launching, you can totally do that. If we just do 1, and if we just type in 1 the entire time, I'll say both area. Oh, oops, didn't change this one. but that's not that big of a deal. Okay, same stuff. First area is 11, second area is 11. Both shapes have the same area. Simple as that. Alright, so I hope you guys, this helped you. Just either getting kind of some logic in you. If you guys want to see more videos like this and you guys actually want to see me actually have a cognitive function and not be a numbskull while I'm doing this, then please let me know. I've never coded and recorded before, so I hope this was at least entertaining, at least. So I hope you guys do like, comment, and subscribe, and please let me know what you guys want if you guys do like this content, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye.